Good day or evening, dear participants. In this second lecture of Module 2, we are going to focus on design process of LTM using backward design. My name is Arnold. I am the facilitator of this lecture assisting Mr. Maurice Nkusi. This lecture is powered by Microsoft Copilot. Let us first introduce this lecture. Learning and teaching materials, LTM, are the resources that academics use to facilitate student learning and assessment. They can include textbooks, worksheets, slides, videos, games, simulations, and other media. The quality of LTM depends on how well they align with the intended learning outcomes, how effectively they engage and motivate students, and how accurately they measure student achievement, according to UNESCO 2018. Therefore, designing LTM requires careful planning and evaluation, based on a sound pedagogical framework. One such framework is backward design, a method of instructional design that starts with the end in mind, the desired learning outcomes and assessment criteria. By identifying what students should know, understand, and be able to do at the end of a lesson or unit, academics can plan the instructional activities and resources that will help them achieve those goals. Backward design is better than forward design, which starts with the content and activities and then tries to measure what students have learned. Forward design often results in unfocused and superficial learning, as students are exposed to too much information without a clear purpose or connection. Backward design, on the other hand, ensures alignment and coherence among the learning outcomes, assessment, and instruction. It also promotes deeper learning, as students are engaged in meaningful tasks that require them to apply their knowledge and skills to real-world situations, according to Wiggins and McTighe, 2005. Backward design follows a strategic approach that consists of 3 stages: identify desired results, determine acceptable evidence, and plan learning experiences and instruction. In the first stage, academics clarify the learning standards and objectives, the essential questions and big ideas, and the transfer and acquisition goals for the lesson or unit. In the second stage, academics design the assessment tasks and rubrics that will measure student achievement of the learning outcomes. They also consider the types and levels of assessment, such as pre-assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment. In the third stage, academics plan the learning activities and resources that will support student learning and prepare them for the assessment. They also consider the principles of effective instruction, such as differentiation, scaffolding, and feedback, according to Wiggins and McTighe, 2005. What is the rationale of using the backward design? Some of the rationale, according to Wiggins and McTighe, are: the prepared lessons, units, and courses should be logically deduced from the outcomes we are looking for, as opposed to just following how we teach, what books we use, and what activities we employ. We should follow the directives of the curriculum, which guides the best ways of achieving the best results. Therefore, the method used should be a top-down approach, designed from the learning goals backward. Wiggins and McTighe point out that the backward design focuses essentially on the understanding of the students. Academics are known to pay attention on processes of learning instead of the products. Thus, it can be said that academics spend more time on teaching and less time on learning. This view often creates the erroneous impression that learning occurs when the activity actually derives from thoughtfulness about the meaning of the activity. As already mentioned, backward design is useful for academics, as it involves a deliberate process in designing the learning materials. It is considered a good approach for giving direction to instruction, lecture design, and the development of units or chapters for courses. When the learning goals or outcomes that students are expected to achieve have been defined, then it will become easier to design and develop the assessments for students to demonstrate the achievement of learning goals and outcomes. It is important to note, as Wiggins and McTighe alluded to, that the teaching process involves more than content transmission to the students, as is captured below. Quote, "Teaching is not merely a matter of imparting information, although that's certainly a part of it. It also involves taking care that students have the content to understand." Backward design proved a better approach to assessing student learning and understanding, because it relies on the questions of what students will learn and what they are supposed to understand in order to move on. To support students in making meaning, we must comprehend the principle that we are not experts of understanding, but rather, we are developers of their ability to play the game of understanding performance and prevention, rather than tellers telling them how to understand the play from the sidelines. Let us focus on the principles of backward design. Backward design model is popular in the academic circles, even in project management using the theory of change, TALK. Some principles of the model are as follows. 1. Clarifying learning goals. This principle helps academics define what students should learn by the end of the lesson or unit, and what evidence will demonstrate their understanding. By clarifying learning goals, academics can focus on the essential knowledge and skills that students need to master, and avoid covering too much content that is irrelevant or superficial. Clarifying learning goals, including learning outcomes or objectives, also helps students know what is expected of them and how they will be assessed, which can increase their motivation and self-regulation. Second, determining assessment methods. This principle helps academics design valid and reliable assessments that measure student achievement of the learning goals and outcomes as stipulated in the curriculum. By determining assessment methods before planning instruction, academics can ensure alignment and coherence between the learning outcomes and the assessment criteria. Determining assessment methods also helps academics select the appropriate types and levels of assessment, such as pre-assessment, formative assessment, and summative assessment, that can provide useful feedback and support for student learning. 3. Planning engaging activities. This principle helps academics plan effective and relevant learning activities and resources that support student learning and prepare them for the assessment. By planning engaging activities, academics can consider the principles of effective instruction, such as differentiation, scaffolding, and feedback, that can address the diverse needs and interests of students. Planning engaging activities also helps academics create meaningful and authentic learning tasks that require students to apply their knowledge and skills to real-world situations and foster deeper learning. Take note that as prescribed in NUST curriculum framework, students are not only expected to achieve the learning outcomes, but also to acquire the graduate outcomes, which represent the competencies they will need in their careers. These three principles ascertain that backward design can achieve quality learning and teaching materials because it ensures that the LTM are aligned with the intended learning outcomes. In addition, the principles highlight that the developed LTM have the potential to promote student engagement, knowledge application, and competency development. By using the backward design, academics can produce LTM that are focused, coherent, and relevant, and that support the development of higher-order thinking skills and competencies. The backward design can also help academics evaluate and improve their LTM based on the evidence of student learning and feedback. Let us reflect now. This lecture introduced backward design as an instructional design method that begins with the end goals and works backward to plan the learning process and develop quality learning resources. The lecture described the 3 stages and some principles of backward design and how it can enhance learning and teaching quality. What questions should we start asking ourselves after receiving all the information from this lecture? What comes to my immediate thinking is, 1. How does what you learned connect to your prior knowledge and experience? 2. How can you apply what you learned to develop quality learning materials to support students achieve the learning outcomes and develop the competencies represented by NUST graduate attributes? 3. After this lecture, what are the key takeaways you have acquired? Can you share some of them? Reflect in writing on these 3 questions using the Gibbs Reflective Cycle Guide, which will be shared with you in this module. Compile your reflection in the e-journal available within the e-learning platform. Share your reflections with your colleagues in your department and beyond. Also share them on the community of practice space, which will be shared with you. In conclusion, this lecture discussed the concept of backward design, which is an instructional design method that starts with the end goals and works backward to plan the learning process. You learned that the framework is consisting of 3 stages: clarifying learning goals, determining assessment methods, and planning engaging activities. By following these stages and principles, academics can create quality learning and teaching materials that are aligned, coherent, relevant, and effective. Backward design can also enhance student learning outcomes and competencies by providing clear expectations, meaningful feedback, and authentic tasks. If you have any questions or challenges, please use the discussion forum named Questions and Answers of Module 2 to ask questions and answer other participants' questions as well. Thank you for your attention.